I slammed the car door shut. The bags were already there, lined up like trash day came early. My sweaters, photo albums, my mother's recipe tin, dumped on the lawn in plastic sacks, one half opened and soaked at the bottom. A shoe box of greeting cards sat in the mud, its lid torn off, the ink bleeding. I stood still. Keys digging into my palm. The door opened. Madeline stepped out in yoga pants and a clean ponytail, holding a glass of green juice like nothing was wrong. "Oh, you're back early." I didn't answer. She stepped closer, resting one hip on the railing. "We needed the room," she said. The closet was full of stuff you don't really use. I looked at the plastic bag where my wedding album had landed upside down. The corner was crushed. Madeline kept talking. "With the nursery coming along, we're short on space. Caleb thought you'd want to go through it anyway." My son. Where was he? I bent down and picked up a frame-cracked glass photo still inside. Caleb was 6, missing teeth. Holding a fish we'd caught at the lake the summer before Charles died. A deep breath. I swallowed it down. The front door opened again. Caleb appeared, phone in hand, eyes tired. He paused when he saw me, then looked down like I was interrupting something. "I told her we should have waited," he muttered. Madeline frowned. "No, you said it was fine." I straightened up. "It's not trash." Caleb's lips moved, but no sound came. Madeline crossed her arms. "No one said it was. But we're preparing for the baby, and this house has to function for a growing family. Their house, not mine." I looked past them into the doorway I once called home. The couch was moved. The shelf near the stairs was gone. A new shoe rack stood where my reading chair used to be. "Can you just go through it later?" Madeline's voice was softer now. "We can bring in a bin if it helps. Maybe donate what's old." I picked up the album, the cards, the broken photo, and turned without a word. Caleb stepped aside. His arm brushed mine, then dropped. The hallway smelled like lemon polish and something floral, Madeline's diffuser. I passed the living room. My lamp was gone. Back by the laundry room, the door was open. A cot sat between the dryer and a pile of boxes labeled baby. A folded towel on top. No pillow. I set the photo frame on the shelf by the water heater. The glass cracked again when I placed it down. In the silence, I heard Madeline's voice in the kitchen, too low to make out. I sat on the cot, closed my eyes. There used to be a bookshelf here, I remembered. I used to keep holiday tins there. Charles liked peanut brittle. The floor buzzed slightly under my feet. The washer was running. I rubbed my hands together, grit from the photo frame still on my skin. I didn't cry. I reached into my purse. Pulled out a small key. Silver with a black rubber top. Still warm. I closed my fist around it. Down the hall, someone opened the fridge. The clatter of bottles. I stayed where I was. The broken photo was still in the corner. Tomorrow, I'd move it somewhere safe. I looked around the room once more, then leaned back on the cot, eyes open, watching the ceiling. I didn't unpack. I dragged the bag across the floor. The plastic scraped against the tile, loud, ugly. I didn't lift it. Let it drag. Let it echo. If they heard, they didn't come. The cot creaked as I sat down. Thin mattress. Smelled faintly of bleach and dust. I shifted. A spring poked through the edge. Madeline appeared in the doorway holding a folded towel and a single pillow like she was handing over a welcome basket. "We thought this might be more comfortable," she said, placing them beside me. "The baby room needs quiet, and this way you'll have privacy." I glanced at the dryer. Still warm from earlier. The scent of her detergent hung in the air, something lavender and chemical. "It's cozy," she continued. "Think of it like a guest nook." I added a nightlight. She pointed to the wall. A small plug-in glowed soft blue beneath the breaker box. I nodded once. She waited. Maybe for thanks. Maybe for something else. I said nothing. "Well," she added too brightly, "if you need anything, just text me." We're trying to keep things organized. Organized. She left without closing the door. A few minutes later, Caleb knocked gently. Half knock like he didn't want to be heard. "Hey," he said, stepping in. "It's not permanent." He leaned against the drier hands in his pockets. "You know how Madeline is. She likes things neat. She's nesting, I guess. Pregnancy hormones, right?" I stared at my bag. A sock poked out through the zipper. "We'll figure something better out soon," he added. I looked up at him. His eyes flicked to the cot, then away. "She just wants calm before the baby comes? This is temporary." "Okay." I nodded again. Slow. Barely moving. He exhaled like that was enough. Gave a thin smile. Left the room. I listened to his footsteps fade, then to the muffled click of the baby monitor turning on in the nursery. The dryer hummed. I didn't move. After a while, I stood and opened the top drawer of the old metal shelf in the corner. Laundry Pod's loose change and expired coupon for mulch. I pushed them aside and slid my key underneath. Covered it with a folded dryer sheet. Closed the drawer. I unzipped my bag. Took out one cardigan, one pair of pants, a toothbrush in a plastic case. No place to hang anything. No closet. No mirror. I folded the cardigan across the cot and sat again. The house had gone quiet. I stared at the vent near the floor. Dust ringed around its edge. I used to clean that. Twice a year, spring and fall, with vinegar and an old sock. The nightlight flickered. Once, then steadied. I lay back on the cot. The wall pressed cold against my shoulder. No footsteps, no voices. No music from the baby playlist Madeline played during yoga. Just the thrum of water moving through pipes behind my head. I closed my eyes. Not to sleep, just to not see the ceiling. The air felt damp, heavy. Somewhere upstairs, something dropped. A soft thud. Then silence again. I opened my eyes, sat up, reached for the cardigan, and stayed up the rest of the night. I carried the casserole to the counter. The timer had already gone off. No one came to check. I turned off the oven, slid the dish out, set it next to the cutting board. Madeline was upstairs getting ready. Caleb was still at work. The doorbell rang. Voices followed. High heels on tile, laughter, a gust of perfume that clung to the hallway like fog. I stayed in the kitchen. Madeline breezed in 15 minutes later, freshly made up, barefoot, now carrying wine glasses by their stems. "Oh, good, you finished it," she said, peeking under the foil. "They'll love this. You really do have that homey touch." She didn't say thank you. I poured water into a pitcher. She pulled out a bottle of white and took over the counter. "Just stay in here, okay? It's a small group. Work people mostly." I nodded. She was already gone. The dining room lights dimmed. I heard clinks of glasses, the scrape of chair legs, music, low in the background. Then her voice bright and clear. "This is Caleb's mom," she said. "She's staying with us for now, just while she gets back on her feet." Laughter. A man. "So she's your nanny-in-law?" More laughter. Madeline. No, nothing like that. She just helps." I leaned against the fridge. The hum of the compressor throbbed behind me. The smell of roasted chicken and warm cheese filled the room. I sat at the small kitchen table. My plate sat alone, cold, untouched. I cut the chicken anyway, ate slowly, listened. Someone asked about the baby name. Someone else joked about Madeline's project house. She said something about how it was finally theirs. Caleb's voice came through softer. Then Madeline, again, louder. "It's temporary. Once the baby comes, we'll need real help, not guilt." They laughed. I stopped chewing. Not guilt. I stood, rinsed my plate, wiped the counter. Dried my hands, slow. Folded the towel. I checked the casserole dish. Still mostly full. I covered it again, left it on the stove. The clock said 8:27. From the hallway, another burst of laughter. I walked past the dining room door, careful not to be seen. Back in the utility room, I sat on the cot. No voices reached me down here, just the steady tick of the pipe in the wall. I took off my cardigan, folded it, turned off the nightlight, laid down. The floor above creaked as chairs moved. More laughter, glasses clinking, a door closed. I stared at the dark. Eventually, I slept. I opened the banking app. It took 3 tries. My fingers shook. The screen glowed too bright in the dark. I turned down the light, adjusted my glasses, and scrolled. The number hit first. Lower than it should be. Much lower. I clicked the transaction history. D15000. Every month. Labeled recurring transfer. Household expenses. Going to Caleb's joint account. I hadn't set that up. I kept scrolling. It started 10 months ago. Right after I moved in. Right after the surgery. When I couldn't drive, when I couldn't think straight, when they said, "Don't worry, we'll handle everything." I stared at the phone. 15,010 times. Gone. No permission. No explanation. Just taken. I stood up. Walked out. Climbed the stairs. Slow knees aching, one hand on the rail. The hallway was dark. The light from under their bedroom door glowed faint gold. I knocked once. Silence. Then Caleb's voice. "Yeah." I pushed the door open. He sat on the bed, laptop on his knees. Madeline was brushing her hair in the ensuite. I held up the phone. "You've been withdrawing from my account." He blinked. "What, 15,000 a month? 10 months? "Oh," he said, lowering the laptop. "That's just for groceries. Bills. Household stuff. That's not what we agreed. You said you'd help." "I didn't say take." Madeline spoke from the sink. "It's not like you're using it. You don't go anywhere." I turned back to Caleb. "Did you set up the transfer?" His eyes dropped. We were behind. It was just easier this way. Easier. I stared at him. Madeline crossed her arms. "If we hadn't stepped in, the lights would have been cut. You don't want that, do you? Not with a baby coming." I didn't answer. "Mom," Caleb said gentler now. "It's not a big deal. You've always said family shares." I looked at him. Still my son, still the boy who cried over a dead goldfish, still the man who let his wife dump my life into the yard. I nodded once. Left the room. Back in the laundry, I opened the metal drawer. Moved the dryer sheets. Took the key. I left the house before sunrise. Drove to the bank. The branch manager recognized me. I'd taught her night classes when she was trying to finish her degree. She brought coffee. Asked how retirement was treating me. I smiled politely. I requested a transaction log. She printed it. I asked about stopping the transfer. She handed me a form. I signed it. She processed it. Then I asked to access my deposit box. She nodded, took me downstairs. Inside the vault, I turned the key, opened the small metal drawer. Inside, a sealed envelope, a second key, a folded contract. I unfolded it. Title document. Still in my name. Never transferred. Never filed. Madeline had asked for the papers once. I told her I lost them. That was a lie. The contract was dated 3 years ago. We drafted it when I considered adding Caleb to the deed, but I never signed. I got cold feet. Charles's voice had been in my head. "Only sign what you're ready to lose." I closed the folder. Slipped it back in the envelope, locked the drawer, handed the key back. Outside, the sun had risen. I got in my car, sat still, then drove home without turning on the radio. I tore open the envelope. The paper was thick, cream-colored edges curled from time. My name sat at the top in bold. Owner Marlis Granger, below a blank line where a signature should have been. The line Caleb and Madeline had waited for. The line I never touched. I remembered the day it was drafted, 3 years ago. My knee already failing. Caleb pushing me toward surgery. Madeline hovering, smiling, saying, "We'll take care of everything. You don't need the burden anymore." I almost signed. I had the pen in my hand, the notary watching. The air smelled of toner and old carpet in that office. My fingers hovered above the paper. And then something stopped me. Charles's voice sharp in my ear, even though he'd been gone a decade. Only sign what you're ready to lose. I set the pen down. Told the notary I needed more time. Caleb frowned. Madeline smoothed it over with a laugh, said, "She's just nervous. We left with the papers unsigned. I never went back. Now here it was. Proof. They'd built their lives on the assumption I'd already handed it over. But the truth sat in my hands, unmoved, untouched, still mine. I folded the draft careful along the old crease, slid it back into the envelope. My fingers lingered on the flap, pressing it closed. A seal on more than paper. A seal on silence. Back home, the house was quiet. Sunlight cut sharp through the blinds. I brewed coffee slow. Watched the dark liquid fill the mug. The sound steadied me. Hot steam rose against my face. I sat at the small kitchen table, mug in one hand, envelope in the other. They wanted control, but they didn't know the floor they stood on belonged to me. Not them. Not ever them. I traced my thumb across the embossed seal. Charles had worked 2 jobs to make the down payment on this house. Nights at the mill, weekends fixing engines in the neighbors' driveways. I remembered his hands stained with grease wrapping around mine when we carried the first box through the door. He used to say, "This is ours, Marlise. Don't ever let anyone take it." I hadn't. Not yet. Upstairs, the baby monitor crackled to life. Madeline's voice floated down, muffled. Caleb answered her. His tone thin, distracted. They thought they were safe, thought their plans were already cemented. But their safety was built on nothing. I sipped the coffee. Bitter. Strong. Perfect. The envelope lay flat on the table. I stared at it until the mug was empty. Then I stood, walked to the laundry room and pulled the drawer open. I pushed aside dryer sheets, slid the envelope beneath, covered it again. Closed the drawer, slow, deliberate. The paper was safe. The secret was mine. I rinsed the mug, set it in the sink, and leaned against the counter. The pipes groaned as the washing machine started again. I breathed in the damp air of the utility room. Cold, heavy, but not enough to shake me. Their voices upstairs carried faintly, just enough for me to catch Madeline's laugh. I dried my hands, folded the towel in half, and laid it on the shelf. Then I sat on the cot, back straight, eyes on the closed drawer. I stood outside the nursery door. It was cracked open. I heard them talking, low and fast. Caleb's voice carried first. "She's not budging." I asked again about signing, and she just smiled. Madeline sighed. "We can't keep waiting. The bank won't pause just because your mother's sentimental." "She's not sentimental," he said. "She's stubborn." A pause. "Then we need her to sign it over, Caleb? Full control. That's what the refinancing depends on. If her name's still on it, we can't move forward." "She's been living rent-free," he muttered. "You'd think she'd at least show some gratitude." "Let me handle it." I stepped back before she opened the door. I returned to the laundry room, shut the door softly behind me, and sat on the cot. They weren't planning to ask again. They were planning to force it. Pressure me. Guilt me. Bleed me dry until I folded. I didn't. Instead, I picked up the old rotary phone mounted on the wall. It hadn't rung in years, but it still worked. I dialed a number from memory. Dillard and Knox, a receptionist, answered. "This is Marlis Granger," I said. "I need to speak to Mr. Dillard." "One moment." The line clicked twice, then a familiar voice came on. "Ms. Granger," he said. "It's been a while." "Too long," I replied. "Are you still handling property?" "I am." "Good. I need to confirm something." "Go ahead." "If I never signed the deed transfer and the title was never refiled, then the house legally, it's still mine." There was a pause. Then his voice steady and certain. "If you didn't sign and nothing was filed, yes, the property is still under your name. Even if they've been living in it, doesn't matter. They're guests. Tenants at best. I see. He waited. Is there something I should know? Not yet, I said. But there might be soon. If you'd like, I can review everything. Quietly. Yes. Let's do that. He asked for a few details. I gave him what he needed. We agreed to meet the following Tuesday. Discreet. Early morning, his office. No paper trail beyond his locked file. When I hung up, the air in the room felt different. Still damp. Still cold. But clearer somehow. I stood, pulled out the envelope from the drawer, held it for a moment, then returned it. I wouldn't bring it to the meeting. Not yet. But I'd bring enough. Outside, a car engine started. Madeline leaving for her prenatal checkup. Caleb would work from home today in his office with the door closed. They'd think I was folding, shrinking, grateful. Let them. I boiled water, made coffee, sat with the mug cupped in my hands. Down the hall, Caleb took a call. I heard him laugh once, sharp and forced. They wanted control, full ownership, access, but I already had it. I took another sip. Let it burn. Let it settle. Upstairs, footsteps crossed the hall. I poured the rest of the coffee down the sink, rinsed the mug, set it in the rack, then wiped the counter clean. I called Nancy. She didn't pick up. Voicemail. Again, I left a message short. Asked about her grandkids. Didn't mention the house. Didn't say what I really wanted, just to hear someone speak to me like I still mattered. The next morning, I checked the mailbox. Empty. Madeline walked past with her water bottle. Oh, she said, pausing. They've been sending things electronically now. It's faster. I stared at her. The gas bill comes in paper. Always has. She smiled, shrugged, kept walking. That night, I found a pile of envelopes stuffed in the junk drawer under the microwave. Some unopened, some torn and taped shut. One from the bank. My name, my address, my account. I took it into the laundry room, shut the door, sat on the cot, peeled the flap open, carefully. Inside, a warning. My balance had dropped below the threshold. Again, they advised restructuring my savings, suggested speaking to a financial advisor. There was a handwritten note at the bottom. From the local branch. A name I didn't know. They'd started flagging my account for depletion. I folded the letter, slid it into my purse. Next morning, I asked Caleb if Nancy had been by lately. He looked up from his laptop, confused. No. Why she used to visit every other week? He shrugged. Maybe she's busy. People get busy. I left her 3 voicemails. Did you, Madeline, passed behind him? You sure you dialed the right number? I said nothing. Later that day, I called my sister. She picked up, finally. Her voice sounded strained. I've been meaning to call, she said quickly. How's the knee better? A pause. Listen, Marlis, she said. I talked to Madeline last week. She said things have been tense. I didn't answer. I just mean, maybe you're being too hard on them. They're young. It's not easy raising a baby, juggling a house careers I raised too. I know. But times are different now. Not that different. Another silence. Then she changed the subject. After we hung up, I sat still. I thought of every friend who used to call, used to drop by. Birthday cards that stopped. Holiday plans that dried up. Madeline was shifting the story. Quietly, efficiently. I was being made the burden. She didn't slam doors. She didn't scream. She just erased one call, one visit, one envelope at a time. That evening, Caleb knocked on the laundry room door. Just checking in, he said, peeking in. Everything good? I nodded. He looked relieved. We're thinking of repurposing the dining room. Maybe a play area. Sounds nice, I said. He smiled, closed the door. I waited until the hallway was quiet, then pulled the letter from my purse. I smoothed it flat, took a photo with my phone, saved it to the hidden folder. Then I stood, walked to the breaker box and opened it. Inside, I taped the letter to the back wall with clear strips. Not hidden, not loud, just there. I shut the box, turned off the nightlight, and lay down. I bought the mug on a Tuesday, plain white thick ceramic with the words, "Still mine," printed in small black letters on one side. No flowers, no hearts, no pretenses. I didn't tell anyone. The next morning, I brewed my coffee early. Before Caleb came down. Before Madeline started her stretching and smoothie routine. I sat at the kitchen table, wrapped both hands around the mug, let the heat settle in my palms. No one noticed the words. Not that day, not the next. That was the point. By Friday, I'd taken 27 photos. Furniture arrangements, closet shelves, cabinets labeled baby essentials that used to hold my baking pans. I started logging expenses. Not just the money they took, but the groceries I paid for the deliveries I signed for the cash. Caleb borrowed just for a week. I kept receipts in a Ziploc bag tucked under the cot. One afternoon, Madeline left her phone unlocked on the table while she went to grab the charger. I scrolled fast. Screenshots, voice notes. Found a message to her sister. "She's sweet enough, but honestly, I'm counting down the days until we can move her into a facility. Caleb won't push, so I have to." I sent it to myself, deleted the trace. Taped a printed copy behind the water heater panel. At night, I recorded short clips on my phone. When they spoke too loud. When they whispered at the bottom of the stairs. When they called me a guest in front of strangers. I labeled each file with the date and a single word, dinner closet transfer. By the end of the month, the folder was full. I bought a thumb drive, transferred it all, found a loose vent cover behind the dryer, taped the drive to the inside with clear packing tape, screwed the vent shut again. No one checked the dryer but me. The next morning, Madeline asked if I wanted anything from the store. Her voice was sweet, bright, sharp at the edges. I smiled, said I was fine. She didn't see the mug in my hand. Still mine. I watched her walk away, phone already in her grip. The washer kicked on. I wiped the counter clean, turned off the faucet, and stood with my back to the door until the silence came back. I parked 2 blocks from the courthouse. Walked the rest of the way. No calls, no texts. I didn't tell them where I was going. Let them assume I was getting groceries, picking up a prescription, wasting time like they thought I did. The clerk asked for my ID, took the parcel number, printed the records without comment. I sat on a bench outside and flipped through the pages. Clear. Unambiguous. Owner Marlis Granger. No lien, no cosigner, no transfer pending, no power of attorney. Just me. I folded the copy, once slid it into my bag, and kept walking. At the library, I used a public terminal. Downloaded the property history, printed 2 extra copies, then typed a new document from scratch. A trust declaration. 1 page. Plain language. I listed myself as sole owner and beneficiary. Gave no successor. No clause for Caleb. No clause for anyone. I printed it. Signed it. Didn't notarize. Not yet. Not until I needed to. Back home, I waited until Madeline left for her prenatal class. Caleb was out front fiddling with the sprinkler system. I walked upstairs, slow and silent, pulled out the file box they never bothered to touch. I slipped the courthouse record and draft trust into a plain manila folder. Labeled it with a single word, November. Then I locked it in my suitcase. The next day, I drove to Letty's house. She lived across town in a small 2-bedroom with peeling paint and a loyal dog. She opened the door, hugged me hard. No questions, no gossip. We sat in her kitchen. I handed her the sealed envelope. If anything happens, I said, give this to a man named Dillard. He's a lawyer. His number's inside. She raised an eyebrow but didn't ask. Just nodded and tucked the envelope into a drawer under the bread box. We drank coffee. Talked about nothing. I didn't stay long. Back home, the hallway was quiet. My mug still sat in the dish rack. No one had touched it. Caleb was on the phone in the living room. I heard him say, "Equity and timing." I walked past him. He gave me a nod like we were still a family. I boiled water, poured it slow, held the mug with both hands. Still mine. The dishwasher beeped. I turned it off before it woke Madeline, poured out the rest of the water. Dried my hands. I checked the folder again. Everything was still in place. That night, I left one window cracked open. Let the air in. Let the cold creep under the cot. I didn't mind. I lined the coffee cups in a row, poured, set out napkins, refilled the lemonade pitcher. They let me handle the drink station out of sight near the pantry where I couldn't embarrass anyone. The house buzzed with voices, laughter, perfume, and polished shoes on polished floors. Pink streamers curled along the staircase, balloons tangled in the ceiling fan. Tiny signs with pastel lettering read, "Welcome, Baby Granger." I heard Madeline's voice before I saw her. "She'll sleep right there," she said, "by the window." We had the whole room redone. It used to be a storage space. Total transformation. Someone asked if they'd bought yet. Madeline laughed. "Not officially, but it's already ours in everything but paperwork." Soon, though, a chorus of congratulations followed. I walked up the stairs, slow, steady, careful not to creak the steps. The nursery door was wide open. People crowded inside, pointing, smiling. A wall mural of clouds. Tiny socks folded on the dresser. My rocking chair in the corner repainted white. She'd said it was too old, too ugly, too broken to keep. I stood in the hallway just outside the door. I didn't cross the threshold. Madeline turned, spotted me. "Oh, everyone, this is Caleb's mom," she said, cheerful. "She's staying with us while we get ready." Just staying, like a long-term guest. I held up the tray of cookies. "Kitchen's stocked if you're hungry." They thanked me politely. Madeline didn't meet my eyes. I stepped back down the hall, moved into my room, the laundry room, and set the tray on the dryer. I reached under the cot, pulled out the bag, opened the envelope. The deed lay crisp and clean, still stamped with the county seal. My name on every line that mattered. No co-owner, no transfer, no dispute. I held it flat in my hand. They were giving tours, speaking in future tense, planning cabinets, painting walls, drawing lines around space that wasn't theirs. I stood at the back door, listened to the laughter drift through the hall. I could end it. Right there. Walk into the center of that room. Unfold the paper. Read it out loud. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I folded the deed in half, slid it into a thick manila envelope, and placed it back in the drawer under the breaker box. Taped it shut. Covered it with folded linens. In the kitchen, someone spilled juice. Madeline scolded lightly, voice pitched for company. I washed the mugs as they came in, dried them, stacked them carefully. By the time the last guest left, the sun was low. Caleb helped gather plates. Madeline sat on the couch, hand on her belly, smiling. "Great turnout," she said. "Good people," he agreed. They didn't mention me. I returned to the laundry room, turned off the light, sat with the vent humming behind me. The house was quiet again. The streamers had started to fall. I printed the notice before sunrise. 3 lines, no emotion, no warning. Just facts. The property at this address would enter a formal rental agreement effective the following month. Any resident not listed on the lease would be considered a trespasser under state code. I left the printer humming and packed the folder. Mr. Dillard met me at his office just after 8. Same dark suit, same thin smile. He read the draft. Slowly, lips pressed flat. When he finished, he tapped the page once with his pen. "Clean," he said. "Do you want to file this now?" "Not yet. Just notarize it." He nodded, opened his drawer, took out the stamp. I signed. He stamped. I watched the seal spread into the paper. Then he opened a second folder. Inside, trust documents. We'd discussed it over the phone, but now it was real. A new legal shelter. The house protected. Name, Marlise Elaine Granger. Irrevocable. We filled in the rest. Carefully. Precisely. He asked twice if I wanted to add a beneficiary. No, I said. No secondary names. He didn't push. I signed again. He signed. 2 witnesses. It was done in under an hour. Outside, the street felt quieter than usual. I carried both folders in my bag. Stopped for coffee on the way home. Plain drip. No cream. At the counter, I asked for a second cup. Disposable. Black lid. Back in the car, I sipped one and let the other cool in the cup holder. When I got home, Caleb was in the garage organizing boxes. He waved. Morning? I waved back. Didn't stop. Inside, Madeline was on the couch with a prenatal book in her lap. She didn't look up. I walked past the kitchen into the laundry room, locked the door behind me. I pulled the envelope from the drawer, slid the notarized rental notice inside, sealed it, labeled the front if filed. Then I tucked it under the cot between the slats. The trust documents went in a second folder, marked only with a star. I taped that behind the vent. Tight. Flat. Hidden. When I opened the door again, the hallway was empty. I made myself lunch. Toast. A single egg. 8 standing up. Madeline passed through, once asked if I'd seen the baby monitor charger. I pointed to the outlet near the TV. She mumbled thanks and kept walking. Later, Caleb asked if I wanted to help paint the nursery trim. Not today, I said. He nodded. Nothing more. I waited until they were both upstairs, then stood in the living room. Looked at the furniture I once bought. The bookshelf Charles built. The carpet we argued over for weeks before he gave in. Everything was here, but nothing felt like it belonged to me, except the paper. That night, I boiled water, poured it into the white mug. Sat by the window. No lamp. Just the streetlight through the blinds. Still mine. I sipped. Watched a car slow down, then pass. My name was still on the mailbox. They hadn't thought to change it. I didn't remind them. Madeline cornered me near the garage door. She held a laundry basket against her belly and spoke like it had already been decided. I need that space cleared by Friday. I want to turn it into a prep area, more functional. I didn't blink. The garage. She nodded. It's not fair we're still sharing the kitchen. This isn't working. It's our house now. You said so. I didn't remember saying that. She pushed the basket into my arms. Start sorting your bins today, okay? The clutter's stressing me out. Then she walked off, muttering something about nesting instincts and mental health. I stood there, holding her towels. Later that day, she brought it up again over dinner. I just think it would be easier for all of us if we had clear boundaries. The garage can be your space. You can cook there, store your things. Privacy. Isn't that what you want? Caleb didn't say a word, just kept chewing. I nodded slowly. You're right. Let's fix that soon. She smiled, a victory look. Caleb cleared his throat like he wanted to interrupt, but didn't. I waited until they went upstairs, then walked into the garage. Shut the door behind me, pulled my phone from my pocket. I opened the voice recorder. Hit play. Her exact words from earlier. It's our house now. You said so. I saved the clip. Labeled it Ownership Claim, Madeline. Garage ask. I sat on a crate. Let the silence settle. The garage was musty but dry. A box fan still worked. One overhead bulb flickered if I tapped the chain twice. I looked around. Cardboard boxes, holiday decor, old tools. Everything I had left from the upstairs was stored here now. I unlocked one bin, pulled out an old tin. Inside, letters from Charles. Some dated before Caleb was born. I didn't read them. Just touched the paper. Put them back. I added a copy of the voice recording to the thumb drive, taped it back behind the vent. The next morning, Madeline handed me a list. It's just stuff we'd like to get done before the baby, she said. You'll feel better once we're organized. At the bottom of the list, garage, tractor T, mom's new kitchen space. I smiled. I'll take care of it. That night, she went out with her sister. I waited for the garage door to close, then opened the drawer and pulled out my coffee mug. Still mine. I filled it. Sat on the crate again. Pressed record. This is Madeline Elaine Granger, I said softly, requesting full control of shared property under the assumption it is legally hers. Then I ended the clip. Saved it. 2 minutes later, I recorded a second clip, just her voice from earlier over dinner. I synced it all. Labeled the folder, Intent to Reclaim. When the house went quiet, I pulled the trash bin closer, tossed the list in, lit a match, watched it curl. Then I sat in the dark garage mug warm in my hands. I set the table. 10 plates. Silverware polished. Cloth napkins folded sharp at the edges. Caleb asked me to help since you've always had the nice touch with guests. I didn't say anything. Relatives started arriving at 6. His aunt first then, 2 cousins, and an old neighbor from Charles's side. Laughter echoed in the hallway. Bottles of wine appeared, and so did a cake store. Bought but dressed up like it wasn't. Madeline wore a blue wrap dress tighter than usual. She moved through the room like she owned the air inside it. I stayed quiet. Served the roast. Poured tea. Cleared space on the kitchen counter. At the table, they talked about the baby. Names, swaddles, a pediatrician 2 streets over. Then the conversation shifted. Madeline smiled, leaned in. We've been looking at care homes nearby. Something gentle. She deserves peace and stability. She didn't look at me when she said it. One of the cousins raised a brow, for whom Madeline's voice lifted just enough. For Marlise, of course. We're thinking long term. It's time she got the care she really needs. The room tilted. Someone cleared their throat. Caleb chuckled nervously. It's just early research. Nothing's decided. She's been a help, of course, Madeline added, reaching for her water. But the baby comes first. We all know that. I wiped my hands on the towel. Stepped out from the kitchen. Would you like to show them the home's deed while you're at it? I asked. Every fork stopped midair. Madeline's eyes flicked up. Excuse me. I looked at her calm. If you're discussing my future, you may as well show them what you're building it on. Aunt Cheryl sat back in her chair. Caleb opened his mouth, but no words came out. Madeline blinked. Once. Then smiled too wide. Oh, she's joking. Aren't you, Marlise? I didn't smile. She just gets confused sometimes, Madeline added quickly, which is why we're trying to handle things ahead of time. I stepped closer. The deed is current, active, filed under my name. One cousin glanced at Caleb. He looked down at his plate. Of course we've discussed a transition, Madeline said, standing now. But that doesn't mean I haven't signed anything I said. Not then. Not now. The room held still. I picked up my mug from the counter. Enjoy your meal, I said, and walked back toward the laundry room. Behind me, the silence broke open. A whisper. A chair pushed back. Someone asked Caleb what was going on. I shut the door, sat on the cot, took a sip of cold coffee, set the mug down on the crate beside me. I didn't need to explain. Not yet. I opened the closet. It was empty. The few sweaters I'd hung there were gone. My coat, my sewing box, the suitcase under the cot. All gone. I checked the garage. Nothing. Madeline walked in, holding a smoothie. Oh, we cleared some things out yesterday. The movers came early. Don't worry, we labeled your bins. Movers, storage, she said. You weren't using most of it anyway. I looked at her. Did you ask? She sipped, blinked. You were resting. She left the room like it didn't matter. I checked the shelves. The photo albums were gone too. Later that night, I opened the drawer by the washer where I kept the ring. It wasn't there. Charles's wedding band. Mine. We used to keep them together in a velvet box lined with blue cloth. I checked the back corners. I checked under the folded towels. I checked the vents. Gone. I opened my phone, searched gold wedding band vintage engraving. It took 10 minutes. There it was. 250. Firm, no holds. Pickup only. Seller Madeline G85. The photo showed it resting on our bathroom counter. The grout line was still cracked in the upper left corner. I'd meant to fix it for years. I didn't call her, didn't text, didn't knock. I took a screenshot. Printed it from the library 2 days later. Folded it once. Labeled the back in pencil ring posted. I slipped it into the thumb drive folder, taped it shut, sealed it back behind the vent. The next morning, she asked if I wanted to join her at her prenatal yoga. I said I was tired. Caleb asked if I needed help adjusting to the new arrangement. I said I was fine. They believed me. That night, I brewed coffee in the garage, drank it standing up. Still mine. The photo of the ring burned in my head. Charles never took it off until he died. We had it resized twice. I wore his when my fingers swelled. We used to joke we'd be buried with the wrong band still arguing in the afterlife. Now it was on Marketplace. The walls pulsed with the sound of laundry spinning. I stood still, let the air settle, let the rage fold into silence. Then I pulled the recorder from the shelf and pressed play. Madeline's voice filled the room. Our house now. I played it again. Let her say it twice. Then I shut it off, packed it away, and turned off the light. I set the table. 12 plates. Linen napkins. Polished forks. The good glasses Madeline only brought out when the neighbors came over. She wanted a dinner to celebrate the next chapter. Caleb sent the invites. Madeline made the roast. I baked the cornbread. No one asked me to. By 6, the house was full. Laughing, chatting, passing dishes. Mr. and Mrs. Klein from next door sat beside Caleb's boss and his wife. A cousin flew in from Houston. Madeline floated through the room like the lead in a play. I refilled the tea pitcher, cleared the counter, took my time. At the table, Madeline raised her glass. We're finally moving forward, she said. The nursery's almost ready, and soon we'll have full ownership in place. A few people clapped. Caleb smiled, awkward. I stepped forward, folder in hand. Before you toast again, I said I'd like to add something. All heads turned. Silence stretched. I unzipped the folder, took out 2 papers, handed the first to Caleb. His eyes scanned the page. He went pale. He started. An eviction notice, I said. Filed. Legal. Effective in 30 days. Someone dropped a fork. I turned to Madeline. Held out the second page. She didn't take it, so I set it on the table in front of her. Original deed. Notarized. Never transferred. Her mouth opened, then shut. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for the paper. You can verify it, I said. Property's still under my name. Always was. A beat passed. Then I pulled out the phone. Hit play. Her voice filled the room, clipped and clear. She's old. Just stall her till the baby's born. Then we'll figure something out. No one moved. Caleb stared at the table. Madeline's jaw clenched. The Klein couple exchanged looks. The cousin from Houston leaned back slowly in her chair. I hit stop. Set the phone down. You told everyone this was your house, I said. You made plans, spent my savings, sold my wedding ring, moved my things into storage. I looked at Caleb. He couldn't meet my eyes. But none of that changed the fact. This house isn't yours. Madeline stood, voice tight. You're overreacting. This is cruel. We've done everything for you. I raised a hand. She stopped. I'm not asking for gratitude, I said. I'm asking for space. I turned to the rest of the table. I'll be serving dessert in the kitchen. Anyone who'd like to stay is welcome. No one moved. I walked out. Closed the laundry room door behind me. The sound of chairs scraping started 10 seconds later. Then whispers. A door opening. Someone leaving. I sat on the cot. Took a breath. Then I opened the drawer and pulled out the sealed envelope labeled "If Filed." Set it on my lap. Waited. Madeline screamed. High, sharp, echoing down the hall like a fire alarm. I didn't flinch. I stood at the front door with the locksmith, watching him drill through the deadbolt. Caleb rushed out of the living room. "What is this?" "What are you doing?" I handed him the copy of the order. "It's filed. The locks are being changed. You have until the end of the month to vacate." He didn't take the paper. Madeline stormed up beside him, hair unbrushed, barefoot. "You can't do this. This is illegal." "No," I said, calm. "What you've been doing is illegal." "We've lived here for years," she snapped. "We've contributed. We've made improvements." "And you sold my wedding ring," I said, eyes steady. "You drained my account. You listed me as mentally unfit without consent." The locksmith clicked the last pin into place. The new lock slid in with a quiet snap. Caleb stepped forward. "Can we just talk?" "We've been talking," I said. "You just stopped listening." A squad car pulled up. Right on time. Officer Ruiz stepped out. She'd handled the filing at the courthouse. She walked up, nodded to me, then turned to them. "Per the verified deed and order, Ms. Granger is the legal owner. This is a civil matter, and she's within her rights to change the locks. You'll have access to retrieve personal belongings under supervision. No removal of fixtures or shared property." Madeline's face twisted. "You're siding with her," no, Officer Ruiz said. "I'm siding with the law." Caleb looked like he wanted to argue. But he didn't. Ruiz handed them a printed copy of the notice. "You have 14 days. If you refuse to leave, further action will follow. If there's damage, it will be documented." They didn't answer. The locksmith handed me the new keys. I pocketed one, handed the second to Officer Ruiz for the official record. Madeline backed toward the stairs. "This isn't over." "It is," I said. "You just didn't see it ending." Ruiz waited a beat, then left. I locked the door behind her. The silence came fast, thick. I walked through the house. Room by room, nursery intact. Paint still drying. The crib was half assembled. I touched the rocking chair. Mine, still solid. Bathroom clean. Towels folded. Toothbrushes missing. Kitchen still smelled like cinnamon from the night before. A dish sat in the sink. I washed it. Dried it. Garage bins, labeled with my handwriting, untouched. I returned to the laundry room. The cot was still there, neatly made. I didn't sit. I walked back into the living room. Caleb stood at the bottom of the stairs, staring at the floor. 2 weeks, I said. Use them. He nodded, barely. Madeline didn't come back down. I poured myself a cup of coffee. No one asked me if I wanted any help. I didn't need it. Caleb knocked softly on the back door. I didn't answer, just opened it. He stood alone. No car running, no jacket. Just him holding a coffee he didn't offer me. "I wanted to talk," he said. I stepped aside. Let him in. No words. He sat at the small kitchen table. I poured a fresh cup. Kept the mug in my hands. Still mine. He didn't speak right away. Looked around the room like he hadn't been inside it in months. Maybe years. Maybe never really noticed it at all. "I didn't know she sold the ring," he started. I said nothing. "I thought she told me we were just making space. That you were happier downstairs. That you wanted a simpler setup." I waited. I didn't mean for it to get like this. I took a sip. I was overwhelmed. The baby, the mortgage. Madeline kept saying it was temporary. That once the deed was transferred, it never was, I said. He nodded, eyes low. "I know that now." Silence stretched between us. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," he added. "Really, for everything." I reached for the envelope on the counter, slid it across the table. He looked down, opened it. Inside, copies of every transaction from my account. Highlighted lines, withdrawals, dates, the Facebook listing of the ring, screenshots of text messages, receipts from the lawyer, taped to the last page a handwritten note. Paid in full, never again. His fingers trembled as he read. I didn't realize it added up to that much, he said quietly. I didn't respond. I can try to pay some of it back. No, I said. He looked up, startled. I met his eyes. I'm not asking for the money. I'm asking for distance. He nodded slowly. She's not coming back, he said. Madeline. She went to stay with her sister. I know. He folded the papers, placed them back in the envelope. I thought I was doing the right thing, he whispered. You weren't. He didn't argue. I stood, took the empty cup from his side, rinsed it, dried it, set it upside down. He stayed seated a moment longer, then rose. I'll be out by Friday. I nodded. He paused at the door. I meant it. I am sorry. I kept my hands on the counter. He left. Didn't close the door all the way. I pushed it shut with my foot. Then I sat down with my own coffee. Still warm, bitter, still mine. I opened the junk drawer. Loose batteries, expired coupons, 3 pens that didn't work. And beneath it all, wedged in the back corner, I found it. The key, dull brass, worn teeth, a split ring still holding a long-faded tag M. Granger, front. The one I used for 30 years before they started locking me out. I held it in my hand a moment, weighed it, turned it over. Then I tossed it into the trash. No ceremony, no second glance. It hit the side of a cracked coffee mug and slid out of sight. I didn't need it anymore. That afternoon, I drove to the bank. Same branch, same vault. The attendant smiled, unlocked the gate, and let me in. Inside the deposit box documents, titles a folded letter from Charles, a bond certificate. I moved past them. What I came for was on the bottom. A single photo. Me, age 30. Standing in front of the porch, paint peeling, hair pulled back. Holding a set of keys in one hand, a baby on my hip. Caleb, less than a year old. My smile, uneven, tired, proud. Charles had taken it. He made me hold still, said we'd want to remember that first day. I folded the photo, tucked it into my wallet, left everything else. At home, I made a sandwich, ate it standing up, washed the plate, rinsed the knife. The trash still sat under the sink. I didn't open it. Instead, I pulled a box from the garage, labeled it Keep, dropped the photo inside. Just that. The rest of the house was quiet. I walked through it, room by room, not looking for anything, just walking. I signed the papers on a Tuesday. The new tenants arrived Thursday. A young couple with 2 kids. The husband shook my hand. The wife brought banana bread. They walked through the house with reverence, not ownership. They asked about the old floorboards, the garden hose hookup, the way the sun hit the windows at noon. I handed them the keys without a speech, just a nod. By Saturday, the last box was out of the garage. I moved into the condo the same afternoon. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, quiet building, downtown, walkable. No lawn to mow, no stairs to climb, no memories embedded in the tile grout. The walls were bare. I liked them that way. I hung one photo, the one from the deposit box, me and Caleb, year 1. I didn't frame it, just pinned it to the inside of the pantry door. A place only I'd see. I bought a new mug, dark gray, no writing, heavy in the hand. The utilities were set up by noon. I unpacked the dishes, folded the towels, stacked the books. At 5 p.m., the phone rang. I let it ring. Voicemail. Her voice. It's Madeline. I deleted it before it finished. The next day it rang again. Different number. Same voice. I unplugged the landline, set the cord in the drawer, shut it, made coffee, sat on the small balcony, watched people walk dogs, carry groceries, laugh too loud into their phones. I didn't miss the silence. I owned it now. I sipped slowly. No interruptions. Still mine. I poured the coffee. No rush. No footsteps behind me. No tight voices upstairs. Just the steady drip, the scent, the warmth filling the air. I reached for the mug. White. Heavy. Lettering still bold, still mine. I set it on the table. No coaster. No one here to remind me. The sun slid across the windowsill, caught the edge of the counter, lit the tile in a thin, perfect line. I pulled the chair back, sat down slow, both feet flat on the floor. Steam rose. I didn't turn on the news, didn't check the phone. I hadn't reconnected the landline. There were no more scheduled calls, no check-ins, no updates about nursery wallpaper or formula coupons, or how tired they were from a life I paid for. I had my breath. I had the mug. I had the quiet. I sipped. The bitter edge settled on my tongue. Sharp, then smooth. I watched the window, the street below. People walked by coats, open hands in pockets. No one looked up. The world moved without me, and I let it. I took another sip. Sat back, closed my eyes for a second. The silence didn't ache anymore. It fit. I opened my eyes, took a final breath, and drank.